case. And it's really interesting how many similarities there were, like connection wise, especially with Jeff, the young
Mhm.
officer who was shot and he had a young family. That's the same thing happened with the guy that actually was shot, Mark.
Right.
uh,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's kind of like seeing those uh, similarities. And then for example, another one is during the actual incident. I mean, a lot of one of the reasons why he was convicted and eventually unfortunately murdered was, or executed, sorry, was that it was just based off of testimony, just the sight of people actually seeing him do it. So
Right.
and then seeing what happened with just the one seeing when it came to the whole situation. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of nice. It's kind of like there's some similarities there. But yeah, after doing research with that and reading through the script, my perspective of the story is basically how gang violence and just criminal activities affect people in different ways.
Okay.
Whether it destroys somebody's life, literally, with Daryl, I mean, his life has changed. Curtis and Jeff, they're both, died. So it's how it can destroy someone's life, but also how someone also can benefit it from a strange way, like with Thornton, for example. I mean, he uses gang violence and these criminal activities. He wants to clean up the streets, but he's using it for his own benefit because he wants to get reelected. He wants to be, uh, he uses it for his own objectives. So that's kind of like how I got the whole perspective of it. And moving on to the second category, the story suggestions. The first one is I do agree with what Edna talked about last week, which was
Mhm.
that the idea of Curtis getting the idea of confessing to the DA about what happens would be a pretty good way of repaying Daryl, because Daryl has done so much for his best friend. He's always been there for him. You know, so this is kind of like, and in a sense, this could literally be his motivation. That what, I need to do this for my friend. It's time that I put my foot down. And there's a part in the script where he talks about how he watches the news broadcast.
Right.
So, having that flashback, because once all the information is starting getting through and he's having that flashback to that event, that's that can again give him the motivation to, maybe I should go and talk. And then of course, Daryl thinks he's off the hook. He's starting to feel good about himself, and maybe he's getting the ideas of, because he wants to propose to Carla. Like, he wants his whole life to be just, he has all his plans set up. And then of course, Carla can talk to him about the whole pregnancy thing. So yeah, so it should, he should be feeling good about himself. But then of course, Curtis gets killed again. The whole gang violence, criminal activities, how it can affect people, how it creeps up on you, and then again affecting Daryl's life, because now that Curtis is gone, he's the only one that they have. So us leaving it to that situation where we realize, okay, is he really going to die, or is he that guy that's on the beach?
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of, I'm was just piggybacking on that first suggestion because I think that's a good one. It tricks the audience a little bit. It gives motivation to Curtis's character, and yeah, I think that would definitely help to see why there's you know uh, a reason why this complicated friendship exists, because deep down inside they both care about each other, and Daryl sees the best in Curtis, and Curtis knows that he wants to be like Daryl. Like a good example is that he enjoys coming over to his friend's house. Oh, I wish that I had your mom's cooking. I wish that I could be like you. And there's some real brilliance with Curtis. I mean, even like with little nod to him getting that science program, that opportunity. This shows that, what, like, this could have been a step forward for him, but of course, of everything that's happened in his, he gets caught up in the gangs, and he gets caught up in the hustling life because that's how he was raised. That was
Right.
his upbringing. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's basically just going off of that. And the other suggestion I was thinking about was, so when Desmond dies, and that's a really traumatic event. I mean, that's his brother. His brother
Right.
gets killed by gang violence. And a part of me was kind of thinking, well, to maybe give Desmond's death a great more meaning is what if that moment, because see, Daryl's a kid, he's hanging out with Curtis, he doesn't know entirely everything about Curtis's background when he's a kid. He's just living his life the way that he loves. He has his brother, he has his mom, but that moment when he dies, maybe that's something that changes him. Like maybe like this event, makes me want to be like, I am not for gang violence. This is terrible. Like, why is this happening? So maybe in a sense, what if he kind of became like an advocate against gang violence? Like maybe he's like a part of an organization and he could be like a good advocate, not like someone like Thornton, who again, he wants to take that violence and those criminal activities. He wants to clean up the streets, but really it's because, he wants to be reelected. He has his his racial views. He has his ego, but like Daryl would be the good portion. And the reason why I was kind of thinking that maybe this could work is one, he has a great upbringing. Daryl has always been a good guy. He would never hurt anyone or really get involved in a sticky situation. And the only reason why he has a gun is, I would guess, for defense. Yeah, because he doesn't want, especially in these areas, like he wants to, put an end to gang violence, but at the same time, he wants to protect himself and his family. So
Right.
that's why he has the gun.
Right. Right.
Second is, again, Desmond's death would be a motivating factor as to why Daryl would want to choose to advocate. Three, it's interesting because, Curtis is someone, again, who gets swept up in gangs and the hustling life. So it's interesting to see that those two would be like best friends. You know what I mean? It kind of makes the relationship even more complicated
Hmm.
because Daryl, again, he wants to bring out the best in him. And Curtis, deep down, he wants that too. Again, he wants to be like Daryl, but at the same time, Curtis does the things that he knows that can get him because far in life, because he knows what he has to do. And of course, Daryl, he doesn't really know some of the sketchy stuff that Curtis does. When he drives him to that place, he's just like, "Oh, I'm just getting your money." He doesn't really know what Curtis has really been doing. So, and of course, the whole situation plays out, and then we're, in that sticky situation. So, I think that would be kind of an interesting way to look at it. And then also, I mean, maybe through his gun advocating or his his wanting to be an advocate, but also like he has a good job too. Like it's not like the whole advocate is his whole life. He still has a good job, college grad. He wants to put an end to violence. Maybe that's also how he meets Carla too.
Hmm.
So that could be everything kind of is all tied together in some way.
Hmm.
So I don't know. That's kind of another suggestion I was thinking about, because then you also give Daryl, you give him, kind of, you give him an arc, you give him some motivation, and because you want the audience to care about him, and they do care about Daryl because he's a good guy. And then again, with Curtis finally stepping up towards the end, that kind of in a sense gives him that motivation, that story arc, that he's not just a kid that steals candy from the store. He's not just a guy that's hustling around. He realizes that it's like it's on the TV. He's finally realizing that maybe, what, if I really want to be like Daryl, like I really want to be like him, then this is something that I have to do. So that gives him motivation, that gives him story arc, and it just all goes to shit when he dies, and then again you're on the edge of your seat because you're like, what's going to happen? So yeah, that's what I was thinking about for story suggestions. And then the last thing is just some things that we talked about earlier, first meeting, like the formatting, the script formatting. It's not hard at all. What's really great about like Celtics and Scriptwriter and all this is that they're software programs for writing scripts. So they literally have, these are action lines.
Right.
This is, character or descriptions, they're headings, seed headings. So, and that's going to be not a problem at all. And once you see it, I mean, it also makes your script look, a lot, it looks professional. It looks clean. People can read through it really easily. So that will not be a problem to fix that. And then yes, some typos. But again, I mean, it's typos, you know,
Right. Yeah.
not
I
a
was
big deal.
reading through a little bit of it and I saw a lot of typos. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So you know, it's interesting because, you know, because when you're typing, you have like your brain thinks the correct word, or your brain use it, but then when you type it and then you look back on it, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I screwed up with that word.
Right.
But yeah, but it's not a big deal. That can easily be fixed.
Okay.
And then there was kind of like some things that I was a little confused about, kind of like some plot holes, like little stuff that I was just a little curious about. So I
Yeah.
did write a few examples on here. One was when Curtis, you know, he has his lady friends over, right? And
Mm-hmm.
one of them goes to the bathroom, and then she just decides to go into Curtis's bedroom to like start looking for stuff. And then he throws her out. And I was kind of wondering, like, what was she looking for? Was she like someone that may have been like a part of another gang, or?
Well, she was, he had these girls over to the house, and then everybody else was in the living room, drinking and
Mhm.
stuff, but she kind of strayed away from the bathroom. And I think she was being a little bit like nosy, trying to just see what she could have found. I didn't say what she was looking for, but she
Okay.
was just being nosy and kind of strayed away. It went into this man's personal area and started looking for stuff. And then when Curtis had noticed that she was gone, that's when he decided to just get up and then say, okay, what you doing in my room?
Okay.
Not that she found anything or she was looking for it or she was trying to snoop. She was just being nosy. Maybe she might have found some more drugs. Maybe she might have found some money.
Okay.
So she was just trying to see, I don't know what Curtis might have up in here. So, and that was kind of it.
The idea. Okay. Yeah.
He
So I
had
guess.
house he really didn't trust. He just had him in the house. And he don't know nothing about these women. He got what they come and rob you blind,
Okay. All right. That's fair. Cause then you can kind of, yeah. Cause I was just wondering, like, I don't know if she was like specifically with like
Yeah.
a gang or something, or she knew somebody, or was,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was just a little curious about that.
You should be in.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Second thing, another example. So I was just wondering, you know, when the detectives interrogate, Shami,
Shamika.
Shamika, yeah.
Shamika.
Yeah. So like when they interrogate her, and and she says like, oh, the description of the car, she said, oh, it's a big car and it's got an SS on the side, and the detectives immediately say Monte Carlo.
Okay.
And I think because it's that car is not the only one that has the SS on the
Yeah.
side.
Camaro. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's other ones too. So
Right.
maybe like in that situation, we can maybe reword it and just have the detectives be like, oh, it could be a Monte Carlo. It could be because them assuming like, oh, it's a Monte Carlo, that's, I don't know. It's maybe like I said, it could just be a simple rewording.
Or they
So
could throw it around and say Monte Carlo Camaro, and they look at
yeah,
they
yeah, like that. So then they have all those cars in mind. So then when they
but the
finally
most
see the Monte,
emphasizing thing was the color. The color was the most thing that was really more defying about the car
yeah,
altogether.
Yeah, she might not have seen the front or the side.
Mhm.
She might have just seen that color, this, or
okay,
what they might do is show her different cars. Did he look like this shape, this shape, this
Mhm.
shape? That way, then
Mhm.
she gets to it. Oh, yeah, no, this is the shape. So it's
Mhm.
not a Mustang. It's not this car with the SS. It's this one, and they know that's a Monte Carlo. So that's because she doesn't know her cars, and
Right.
yeah, she
yeah,
knows.
We
Yeah,
just remember seeing SS on it, so they kind of
right.
told amongst themselves, could be a Monte Carlo, could be a Camaro. So, but what they was looking for was an orange car.
orange car. Okay, yeah, but that was just kind of a way to just to make sure, because like if you're
Mhm.
interrogating someone or you're asking questions and you're like,
Mhm.
oh, this one little specific detail, it's not, you can't just jump to the gun and say like, oh, it's a Monte Carlo, or even like with orange cars too, because Camaros can be orange.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, we could just reword that. That would not be a real issue. I that was just something that stood out to me.
Right. Okay.
And then just one other example that I have is when Curtis gets shot. Before he gets shot, his mom, he's talking with his mom on the phone, and his mom has always kind of been like disregarding him as a kid.
Mhm.
And then this was the only when he gets shot, and then she starts tearing up when she finds out.
Mhm.
So I was kind of wondering, like, should she be tearing up because she's, I know it's her son. I know it's kind of
There's a disconnect there.
yeah, it's a yeah, but it's kind of like, she never really cared about her son beforehand, really. He was kind of just disregarded. So I don't know if this was like the only time, because it's the only time that she's really shown real care for her son. So that's kind of why.
Well, here's something I think we should add. Like, there is no mother that's that bad. Here's what I think we should add. I think those days, back in the days, I think you should be like, when she goes to the store, she sends someone to the store, if we're ever showing this, and they come with a bag of, bottles of, 40s or drinks. There should just be a couple of things of noodles.
Mhm.
And, so there's care there. It's just not Daryl's mom's care. It's just not food, dinner, and did you eat? So when he's in the cupboard looking for something, Mom, is there anything? Like, she fed them. Yeah, look in that bag over there. Which bag, Mom? The bag with the 40s in it. Oh, he sees a bag of noodles. So there's always something. There's care so that she can tear up. I think it's going to be key that she does tear up in it.
Okay.
I really want not do it without her being, unless you guys insist on.
Okay, no, I was just a little curious because I didn't, because again, like she kind of, you're right, because love can be shown
so many different ways.
In different ways, yeah. So maybe tearing up, that could be finally the real motherly instincts coming out. So I was just a little curious about that.
But I think she was always there. She bought diapers, but she'd send somebody, one kid, go change that person's diaper. Who diaper in there? It's like she's just busy in her world of game playing, smoking, and she's still smoking. Maybe somebody on the table asked her, "You all right, girl?" Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like, she's hard. She's been through hard. She's lost kids. It's not the first kid. Yeah.
Right. And this is the first time that I just want to show that she did have some emotion. She did care for her son, but she was so hard and stern that she continued to do what she was doing, but she was trying to be strong about it. But a tear came to her. I did not that she broke out crying. It just a tear came to her eye, and she was still smoking a cigarette because she actually just heard her son get killed on the phone. She knew something happened, because the only thing she could think is that, I may have lost my son, but instead of her, when she kept calling his name, he wouldn't answer. She just went on and hung up the phone and just did finish what she was doing. But in her heart, she felt that something really had happened to Kurt.
Okay.
I just wanted her to experience.
And probably has that motherly instinct.
Yes.
Even though she
just lost a son. But what I wanted to say, Anthony, was that just from watching you and then watching Chi read the story, it's so it's so exciting to me to see people react, and you guys have been the only ones that have actually seen the whole story. I mean, read it, besides me having to say it, and to see the excitement that you guys see in it, and I feel as though if you guys can see it, that the audience will have that same emotion and excitement about, and it just makes me more excited about, okay, maybe this is a good story. And so that's what I want to, I see out of the reaction out of both of you guys. The other thing was, I just wanted to piggyback on some things you had asked about. And what you're saying, Curtis wanted to confess to somebody. I wouldn't say so much confess to the DA, maybe confess to those two detectives, because the detectives are they're the ones questioning him. So finally, they're gonna go to him, because I can't see him going directly past the detectives to the DA. The detectives are going to be bringing the information they get to give to the DA so that he can lock this case down. So he will probably go straight to the detectives and say, okay, I think I want to talk. So I'm good with that. And however you do that, that's fine. Now, the other thing I liked that I didn't never think about was, how did Carla and Daryl meet? Because I never put that in there. I just said, this is Daryl's girl. Daryl, this is Curtis.
Daryl's girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carl Dare's girl. I never showed how they met, but I like the part of bringing them together and meeting and an advocate for, gang violence, that Carla may have been a part of that, and they probably met in some kind of situation where they was working on something like that, dealing with the community or something. Or Daryl probably was involved with something that involved trying to get youth or something out of gang violence and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Carla was a part of that.
Are we able to bring the NRA into this or no?
What's the National Rifle Association?
Yeah. Sponsor something.
Hey,
Or someone, yeah, or just, it doesn't necessarily even have to be like a real life,
NRA,
yeah, it could just be
sometimes
uh
when you involve groups like that, you can get sponsorship, you can get dollars from
oh
them
really?
because they
Okay.
support the, you know,
Mhm.
safety, gun safety. If we're gonna use it right, make sure you have the licenses. People should be able to have it properly, and people should have whatever. So
Yeah.
I think if we're gonna write that in, let's consider that, so that if we're writing in a few lines here and there, the first time they met, maybe that's how Carla stands up and she's, we have a line, a page, NRA meeting. Carla stands up. My great grandfather was shot at the this. Our family is a lineage of supporting and advocating against this, and we are a community. Da. Thank you. So now he's looking like, wow, I
Right.
just love this girl. And then they start talking after that. Soon, we don't care how the rest of it happens, but that's the first time he sees her.
Right.
Is that he's he meets her doing a speech.
And then I like the office that you sit in, Chi, because that's how I envision us first meeting attorney Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
Office and the books that we first see, the books that are around him, then all of a sudden we notice some of the books that he's sitting at, and there are some Illuminati and underworld books that we see. And we see law books, but we see those books too. But
Right.
we really don't pay attention to that fact, but we just emphasize that they are on the shelf. So later on, we can bring that he was involved with some type of world group too.
Yeah, foreshadowing. Yeah, foreshadowing. It's like a slight little thing. It's
right.
Added something in the story. It's there.
Right. So and then what else? There was a part that you talked about. Okay, we did the this was a question I was going to ask. Okay, now this involves the timeline part. So am I had to assume that when Daryl gets locked up, because we got to get him and Carla to be able to talk, about some of their future and stuff. So they need some time together before he gets put back in jail again. So when he finally gets out from the story, when I first wrote it, I made it appear as though Daryl never got out the whole time. Once he got locked up, he never got out. He stayed in there through the whole time. So what we're going to say is that he did get out on bail.
Okay.
Because mother was able to get him, she was able to get a lawyer to get him out. And then that's how he was able to sit down and talk with Carla. And then they had we can show a little time with them together. At the same time, we can go back and then visit some of the family on the other side with the Bowers. We can kind of bring some of their storyline in too, but what's going on over there? Because you remember his father is really heart bent on trying to work on his case himself, but they won't let him work on it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, he seems kind of because he was looking through the records on the computer.
Right.
He's like, oh, this is a good guy. Like he kind of interesting.
He never believed that Daryl did it, but he was just shocked. But his wife was more by the book. She says, if they say this happened and this is what happened, we got to live to deal with it. And he just couldn't accept that, even though this was his son that killed. Mm-hmm. And now, what do you remember the part about when I just brought in that little part about Daryl and Josh? Is it Josh?
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff. When Daryl and Jeff meet for the first time, when he first get in his car and he pulls out and Jeff acknowledges the car.
Mm-hmm.
and then he asked to pull in front of him. So I just brought that part in there just as a instance where these two people meet for the first time, but down the road he's going to be accused of killing him. But I just wanted to show how nice Jeff was and how cordial they were when they first met by chance at that traffic stop.
Yeah, and I think that was a nice. I think when reading that, I think that was a nice transition because first of all, you in a sense, it kind of having those two together, they exist in the same world,
right?
And then using that transition where we follow now Jeff, we then transition into kind of more his backstory. So yeah, I think that was a good transition. I really like that for sure.
Okay.
I felt like that should have been almost used against them, but Harold didn't really fancy that idea of them actually eventually when you're looking through the records, okay, the cops are looking through the city records, and it could be the detectives who are working with the DA. They see those two cars at the stop, this light. They see a video of the SS car and Jeff, and they see Jeff go in front of it and assume that there's a problem because Jeff just went in front of the SS car and want to use that in court. The
only thing with that was that when they met, it was a lot of time in between that because, Jeff was still a rookie at the time. He hadn't even got released from the academy. And then eventually he had to be assigned to his to the other rogue officer, Officer Mack. And so it was a lot of time. So for them to go and find that kind of footage, I just think that was
that might be a little too far back. And I don't think.
Well, it's again, they're fishing. They're fishing for everything to say that Daryl did it. And sometimes they have detectives that just sit and look for evidence, right? Mm-hmm. So they're looking for any evidence that connects these two people, because why would Daryl kill him? That's what they're looking for. Anything that can say that Daryl did, I'm thinking that meeting is something they would try to use, even though Daryl in court would be like, he was just saying hi to me, telling me my car. You look at that footage. He just said hi to my car, but they'll try to use it. Do you remember this day? They'll try to use anything they can if we want to bring that up. I just thought that we don't have to.
The only evidence they got on Daryl is Shamika's testimony that she saw him in the area, and the fact that he told him he owns that gun, and the gun has the ballistics matched up with the bullet. I mean, so it's just like, what can you say? Why somebody identified you there, and you have a gun? So how are you trying to say you didn't do it?
That you didn't do it, Anthony? I want to find out while you're writing this 7 to 10 pages. If ballistics report can take, 3 days, if it can take a week, because that determines all we do. We know the car was there. We know he's there. DA could say, I'm not letting him go until I have a suspect, because the city wants a scapegoat. They want someone's head, right? So now that's when, if it takes us 2 weeks to get ballistics report back, then we have time to pull the whole, Daryl starts telling his story to his attorney, and he's turning his gung-ho on Curtis. So Curtis comes up, and though they ask Curtis, and Curtis is like, yeah, I was there, but I didn't shoot nobody. Mm-hmm. So now Curtis is a dead end, but they're watching Curtis like Curtis has more of a record, looks like somebody who could have done it. And Curtis is now putting 2 and 2 together, like, I shot back, but I didn't shoot anybody, but I may have done something wrong that night. I just don't remember shooting anybody, but I had your gun. So Curtis makes the confession, which gets Daryl out. He makes that confession. Daryl tells his attorney, we've got a suspect. So they're able to put Daryl on bond. So Daryl gets out and is told, don't contact Curtis. Curtis is calling Daryl like, I want to talk to you. I want to let you know the full detail. Meanwhile, they're still either waiting on ballistics report to come out because there's no one's handprints on the gun. But that bullet, it's just the same type in the neck of the officer. We just have to tie it in. That is the same gun. They're still doing all those investigations, but there are no prints on the gun. However, the glove compartment has Curtis, Carla, and Daryl's. So all 3 people were in that car at some point, but Curtis and Daryl were there.
Quick though, and now that I'm thinking about it, so when he gets the gun, because he uses Daryl's gun, and is he wearing gloves or anything?
No, that's what I'm
Because
saying. He had
there's
a
gonna
bandana.
be the fingerprints on the gun.
He
So-
has a
so-
bandana he wears all the time,
So
I
he's
would
gonna
just-
use the bandana as
wiping it and
cover up
putting it
his-
back.
okay.
or we can make it where the temperature is cold, where he has gloves on.
Hmm.
Cold weather. If we're shooting in Atlanta, it's not gonna.
I don't think that's cold weather. I don't really see also it being cold. Just story wise, I don't really see that.
Well, okay. When
I see
Daryl
him
goes-
having a bandana covering his tracks because when they got the gun, there were no prints. So that
Okay.
means Daryl wiped it. Whoever used it wiped it. That's what the cops are thinking. Whoever used it knew what they were doing. So that's why they're gung ho that it's Daryl. And Daryl is like, I didn't shoot anybody. I haven't touched my gun in months. And then Curtis was in my car, but Curtis didn't touch my gun. That's what Daryl's saying. So he's like, ask Curtis. Curtis won't touch my. So now when the attorney Vaughn is talking to Daryl, he gets some things out. Did you ever leave Curtis in the car alone with your gun? And Daryl's like, yeah, but Curtis would have told me, the whole time. And Vaughn steps out after interrogating Daryl for hours. And he says to Daryl's mom, I think Curtis may have taken that gun. If they're saying that gun matches, and that's the only gun like it, they've not found any other, because they've searched the whole area and the neighborhood and the apartments, and nobody else has a matching gun of the bullet that's in that officer's neck, but they're still doing further investigations. A full report has not been released, and they have to keep the scapegoat, which is Daryl. If they see any of the suspects, that's what the DA says publicly, he comes on TV and says it, they'll let Daryl go. So when they let Daryl go is when Curtis comes to the jail and says, I took your gun, but I didn't shoot no cop, but I took your gun. I had to let you know because I've been listening to the news. I'm trying to put two and two together. They saying you got a gun. I know you didn't do nothing, but I took your gun, but I ain't shoot nobody. What? Why didn't you tell them? I'm gonna go tell them, calm down. I just want to let you know. I got your back, bro. So that's when Daryl tells his attorney, they put a bail out. Daryl's out that night, and Curtis is like, okay, I'm gonna get this thing done, but he's counting down to his hours before he dies. He's trying to go in, he's trying, but he doesn't make it. And so within 24 to 48 hours, they picked up Daryl again because the DA has to have a suspect. The DA does not care. That's why I try to schedule a meeting where Curtis is trying to come in to meet with the DA like at 9 a.m. and his appointment is like 6 p.m. And he comes in and he's like, I gotta see the DA because he's fearing for his life. He now notices that some gangs are following him from those apartments. And the two detectives are watching him. People are watching him. He doesn't know. He just feels that. When you just know somebody's watching me, and it could be because now I'm guilty, so it's my guilt. It could be many reasons. Either way, he feels that. It's towards the end. So we want to feel with him like something's about to go wrong. He knows that, he just doesn't know what. All he knows is he's going to turn himself in. So that's why he's focused. But I don't want him to feel relaxed, like everything's okay. Everything's not. Daryl's not answering his phone. He's lost his job. He has no income. He doesn't know. His life has not been the same ever since they interrogated him. I think they kept him for like 24 hours. They had to let him go. They couldn't book him because they had nothing on him. So they place him at the scene. They place him in the car, but they don't place him with a gun. He doesn't own the gun. They can't find a gun in his place. And Shamika didn't place him because they put him in the lineup, and Shamika's like, I don't know anybody. So that's why they let Curtis go, but Curtis doesn't get it yet until he keeps listening to the news, what the DA's saying, till I have a suspect. We're going to keep the one we have in custody. We're not releasing any names. We've got somebody, he did it. We found a gun. It's his weapon, So Curtis is thinking, what? So as Curtis is listening to the guilt, everything is just, meanwhile, gangs are looking for Curtis because Curtis is the one that brought all this drama here. And the cops are looking at Curtis because Curtis fits the bill, not Daryl. The detectives. And that's when he goes in and tells Daryl, and Daryl tells us to me, that's the 7-10 pages we need. Daryl tells his attorney, Daryl's pissed. Daryl tells his attorney's like, he told me if we have another suspect, Curtis is your suspect. I've been saying it day one. So Vaughn knew since day one that it was Curtis. Just after interrogating his client, he just knew it has to be Curtis. And he kept asking Daryl, you left your car how many times? Well, at the gas station, I was getting gas. Well, when you were getting gas, what happened? What did you see? And in the script, the way we have it written, it doesn't show anywhere that there was a correlation between that. Like nobody figured out what happened in the car when Daryl stepped out twice, but Daryl's attorney should. He's that brilliant. This is a man in his 70s. He's not a dummy. He wasn't born yesterday. He can get out of his client the questions to understand what happened that night, because that's his only way to be able to prove. Remember, he's going to go into court and prove that Daryl didn't stay in the car out too long. Remember, right. He's going to say Daryl came out and went right back in. So how could Daryl have gone around the corner and shot the cop from when you're saying he shot the cop? So that's his argument in court, but it doesn't stick because nobody cares how it happened. We just know it did. But he's then trying to place Curtis as the person who did it. He just doesn't have any evidence to back him. Till right. Curtis comes and says, so Daryl calls him and says, Curtis confessed that he picked my gun. So now Daryl calls the DA. Of course, the Vaughn is dealing directly with the DA. Vaughn's not dealing with detectives. Vaughn calls the DA, who has respect for him, and says, listen, Curtis is your man. He's going to come in and confess. I want bail tonight for Daryl. I told you from day one he didn't do it. And DA is like, fine, sure. If I can get some evidence that, you know, Curtis is coming in, I'll let Daryl go, let him spend some time with his family. But if I don't get what I need, you already know what I got to do. Because all evidence points to him. So that's already clear to the old man. So now, and the Curtis, so the old man is the one who tells the DA, check your records. Curtis came in today. And so DA gets off and tells his detectives, bring me all the call records for Daryl today. They don't check it. They just gather everything and put it in the DA's office. They never check it. They never hear that Curtis says, I took your gun. It's at the DA's desk because Curtis is supposed to come in to meet with the DA. Curtis already told Daryl he'll do it. So they release Daryl. That's when we have these 2 or 3 days that he can do this stuff with Carla, all these other things. He's not talking to Curtis. He's not taking Curtis' call. Curtis knows it's the end. Curtis is calling him. Curtis is nervous. He has all these night sweats, flashbacks, everything, can't sleep. Then he goes to meet the DA too early. He goes in like 9 a.m. We want to show he went in, but his appointment is 6 that evening. So he goes in, and the girl that spends the night, and I think the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of how it happened. These details are so important to your last minute moments. The girl comes over, he frisks her at the door, and she's in the house like, are you okay? Like, I was here last month, and it was like 3 of us, and we were having a party. You look a wreck. You haven't shaved, you good? Like, but he can't tell her anything. So, you know, he's like, yeah, I'm good. He's looking out the window. You know, she's like, I could call my other girls to come so you can relax a little bit. It's like, no. Don't call anybody. Don't call anybody. Just you and I just be here tonight. Next day, remember, he doesn't have a car. Next day, she takes him to the police station. So the detectives who are outside see this happen, you know, and this is a way we could tell it. Doesn't mean that has to be. I want you to have this in mind, Anthony. Takes him to the police station, and there at the police station, the detective is like, oh, you know, he's like, I'm here to see the DA, and they're like, your appointment with the DA is at 6. And he's like, well, can I just see him early? Unless you want me to book you, that's what the cop is telling him. Nobody sits around here all day, but I could book you if you want. So he goes outside, he looks outside, he sees far away, he sees the gang guys. He goes right back in, he said, you sure there's no way I could wait for him? It's like, man, didn't I just tell you I could book you if you want me to? And he leaves and he never comes back because he gets shot. So that's the story I'm trying to tie in because it's the end for Curtis. I don't want Curtis' end to just be, he went outside, he called his mom, he got shot. I want these things that happened, that led to it, that made it seem that he made the effort. He knew he was going to die. He made the effort to go in to actually say it. Daryl never knows that he does this, but we see that Curtis has a heart and he really is a good person who wanted to make right. He didn't want to wait because he might have not had transportation that evening. He might not have found a way to go into that girl was his only way to get there that morning and to get it over with. And maybe they would have kept him, whatever. But it never happened because he took an Uber home. And when he came out in the evening for an Uber, he was telling his mom about to call an Uber, go down there. They shot him.
Okay. Okay, Daryl did get his car back. I mean, Curtis did get his car back. That was a point of getting the money and getting. He did get his car back. But what I wanted to say was,
Okay.
um, um, when when we do the lineup, before we bring Shamika in, Shamika say she saw who may have done it. Okay, so the detectives are going. They started arresting. You know, they started looking for. They looking for his car for a while. So it's not going to be immediately. When they finally pull Daryl's car in and he gets arrested, Daryl doesn't have a record. So he's going to get in. They're going to take a picture of him, but he's going to be released because his mother gets him out. They're able to get him out. So that's when he's going to spend time with Carla. Now, when they finally go get this witness that was at the scene, to come in and identify the
Okay, so that's where they keep him after.
that's when they said, okay, she picked him out of the lineup. Then the next thing they will find out is that the bullet matched. Now they want to go bring Daryl in because Daryl is out at this time. They
Oh,
want
okay.
Daryl in.
Now it's not written this way that you're saying. It's not written this way.
I'm just saying
That's okay. So that's the way you would like to write it. Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
then they're gonna bring him in because once he gets out, he's gonna have the time to deal with Carla.
Okay.
And then we can go have some time with the Bowers as they trying to do their figuring out. Then we may have to this DA, you know, I want to do a little bit background on him, do a little background on the Officer Mac and his, because I mean he was not a main character, but the fact that I just want to emphasize that eventually well, we never did. Well, that was before he got shot that we talk about Officer Mac. So that's before he got shot. So to that part of meeting Officer Mac and him bringing Jeff together, we're going to follow that in the story. So that's before he can get shot. So, but the part where that he has time with Carla will be while he's out on bail.
On bail.
Then that's when they find when they start seeing all this other stuff that the detectives are finding out, they're gonna start locking this stuff down. They say the ballistics match. She identified the player. We need to pick Daryl up. Then when they pick Daryl up this time, and they arrest him for murder of the police officer, you know, because at this point, Curtis does not know anybody's looking for him in the area. He doesn't know. I mean, he's still doing his thing, but what's bothering him, he starts getting bothered when Daryl gets arrested. Because now the fact that Daryl gets arrested for shooting an officer and then he realized they was at this same project together. Because when Daryl got out of the car because his tire was blown, Curtis at that time took the gun out of his pocket or his waist or whatever, wiped it off, put it back in the glove compartment. And he just wanted to that kind of cleared him right there. We're gonna show him, wipe it out, put it back in the glove compartment, be done. Because he don't do that as soon as Daryl gets out the car. So at that point, his fingerprints is not on there. The only person who the gun belongs to is Daryl. Daryl admits, that's my gun. He's not gonna say it's not his gun. Right. So, you know, so he's tied to the gun. Now he got somebody that identified him in location. And, you know, again, that's the only witness they have because nobody else wants to talk. So, I mean, we can, you know, you can build it. I mean, you can take it from that point. I was just trying to give you this scenario where I kind of visualized it and adding what both of you guys are saying, that we do need to bring some time with him and Carla, which I didn't do that. Bringing in some time where he met Carla, I didn't add that in there. What else was it that we were trying to emphasize on? Well, we got the tier part out the way.
Okay, yeah.
But instead of Curtis going to the DA, he goes to those detectives because the detectives are the one. It's their case, just like on 48 Hours. When you're watching 48 Hours, you have detectives that were investigating the case. And
wouldn't they be the ones to call him in? Wouldn't they call Curtis in for questioning? Okay, so he doesn't go to them. They call him in after they hear all this. His name comes up from Attorney Vaughn. Because remember, Daryl doesn't give him up. Daryl says
Right,
Curtis
Daryl-
couldn't do it. But
Yeah, 'cause-
after the attorney sits down with
Right.
Daryl and pulls the story out, he's
Right.
like, you definitely got to call Curtis. Curtis has something to do with it. And of course, the mother's like, I've been telling Daryl Curtis is bad news since he was a kid. So it helps to, so now the detective called Curtis, but Curtis is like, I didn't shoot nobody, but I was there. I didn't shoot
You see,
anybody.
Curtis and Daryl are just like this. So
Right.
Daryl, he did not see Curtis take no gun. He didn't see Curtis shoot nobody. So he's not gonna just throw Curtis under the bus. He gonna still
Right.
protect Curtis. I didn't shoot nobody. Curtis didn't shoot nobody. I don't know how my bullet. Y'all sure that my bullet came out again? Because no, but my gun hasn't been fired. I mean, he ain't gotta say his gun was, but he's gonna say, I can't believe that my gun, because nobody used my gun. My gun
Right.
was in the plug before me. I didn't
Yeah,
see
but they're gonna ask him things like, we saw a powder. You know the powder that comes off when the bullet
Right.
is freshly. So there was
Right, right.
powder at the front of when the bullet was released. So there's
Mhm.
evidence that the gun was shot. There are just no
Right.
prints, so somebody wiped it. They're gonna tell
Right.
him that information. And he's like, I don't
Right.
know what you guys are talking about.
I can't believe
I
that.
haven't shot my gun since I don't know when.
Right.
The rest
But
of it.
the attorney Vaughn is going to tell Daryl, you sure he didn't have this gun? But Daryl's like, no, he didn't use my gun. He just cannot believe that what Curtis would do nothing that stupid. But he just can't, since he didn't see him, he's not going to believe that he did it. So he's
Yeah,
gonna
but the
test-
attorney will probe him. Like, did you
Yeah.
ever step out of the car? How many
Right.
times did you step out of the car?
Right,
What
right.
happened when you stepped out of the car the first time? About how many
He-
minutes were you out?
He
Right,
gonna tell, but Daryl ain't gonna believe it. Daryl ain't
right.
gonna
There he's gonna be like, is there any way? I don't know what you did.
No,
No way.
It's no way. It's no way. I just
Right.
know. Neither one of us did anything. But when
So-
Curtis comes and tells Daryl after he got the fingerprint, the ballistic report, and he's identified, when he tells him that he had his gun while he's in jail there, that's the first time that Daryl hears it come out of Curtis's mouth that you had my gun. That's
Yeah.
what messes him up, because he's been protecting him all this
They
time. And
protect
you
him.
couldn't tell me that you had my gun all this time. It never told me.
Well, because the truth of the matter is Curtis never knew that it was the gun and the bullet that shot the cop. So Curtis didn't know
Right.
until he started hearing the news and everything
Right.
else. So let's get to the focus of the pages we want to write on now.
Okay.
Those
Yeah,
pages
'cause we're-
include
Because we're
tying
going.
in, right,
So,
because we
I think
could keep,
you-
it's already past 10 minutes
you-
past. So tying in the fact that like Curtis, Daryl does not give up Curtis, but Attorney Vaughn. So a page or two or a page and a half of Attorney Vaughn's intense questioning of Daryl. This is after Daryl has been brought back a second time. So now the first time,
And this is after Curtis told
no.
Daryl about him shooting about him, or it was after their conversation, and then Daryl has the conversation with Vaughn, correct?
Well, now Daryl, I think he shouldn't interrogate Daryl until he realizes that his gun is involved, because he can't interrogate Daryl, and Daryl is at home with Carla, because nothing's been found yet. They haven't brought Shamika and identified him yet. They haven't did the ballistic report on the gun yet. So all this stuff hadn't happened yet. So he wouldn't want to interrogate him before then. All they did was get him out of jail because he ain't had no record. So he got out of jail on good cognizance right now while they're still investigating stuff. But then when all this evidence comes up, then they won't bring him back in. So then that's when his mother is going to bring Attorney Vaughn in to handle this case. She don't bring him in when he first gets out of jail.
But she doesn't feel
brings
like she
him in-
needs him. She feels like they can have a regular DA,
Right,
regular, like they'll get this thing off. It's
This
when Daryl goes
Yeah,
back. So how much time frame? So what's the time difference from when? That's what we're trying to understand. The time difference from when, the first time that he actually, he's pulled over,
Yeah.
he goes to jail, because it happens very quickly. He pulled over, he goes to jail,
Right.
he stays in jail, then all this
Right.
happens. So he
Yeah.
pulls over, he goes to jail, they release him right away. Do you want us
Yeah, we
to
can-
write that?
we can-
Okay,
we-
so let's add a
can-
page or half
can
a
look at the
page
next
of,
morning. We can let him out that next morning.
Yeah, because they're still doing their investigation.
Right,
Okay,
right. We
Okay.
can
so,
let him out that next
so he
morning.
gets bailed out, bailed out the next morning. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's bailed out the
Sometime-
next morning.
Yeah. So we got
Okay.
time.
So what
Yeah.
happens? So now that he's bailed out, what's missing? What's missing there?
Well, see,
That's
we
when
got-
the father, Jeff's father is saying, this can't be the guy. Maybe we flash back to the DA, who this DA guy is, you know, a little bit of his back history, and then come back to him saying, I need to take this guy down, whoever it is. I need to clean my city up. Like I want to know what happens from when he is bailed to when he gets back into jail again. They occurred, you know, do you see what I'm saying? What are the scenes that
see,
we
this-
either already
what
have or
when Daryl gets out and then he's with Carla, we're gonna have him spend a little bit of time with Carla. Okay, then we need to jump back over to the funeral for Jeff. We have to show that.
okay, so the funeral for Jeff happens.
Yeah, okay. funeral for
He's
Jeff
back with
happens,
her. Okay.
right?
What else?
And then you have the district attorney is gonna probably want to meet up with the family and let them, or the detectives or anyone, the detectives or the DA could meet up with the family and say they're going to get this case solved. I mean, that's the thing.
Okay.
Then
So wherever that's at in the script, move that
Right.
there. Move that there.
Yeah.
Then what
Mhm.
other pages?
I don't even know
are
if
we-
I even got it written in there, but I'm saying we need to probably, that could probably be something that we add.
I think there was a part where the DA was talking to cops, but yes, if it'd be good if the
Right.
DA is talking to either
Right.
the family, even during the funeral, so we shoot it at the
Mhm.
same time. He
Right.
comes and he's like, we're gonna clean this city up, we're gonna take care of this. And then
Right.
of course we cut to him talking to his force, the police force.
Yeah.
I want
Right.
eyes, I want ears, I want my this. So it's a very
Right.
quick movement of the DA saying, I'm
Yeah.
gonna step in, I'm gonna make sure that I clean
Right.
up my city. And
Right.
then we cut to what? Then when is this when we discovered that ballistics and things match Daryl and
Well, that's when-
Shamika's called in?
Well, okay, when they put the APB out for the orange car first, that's the first thing they're gonna put out. The
Mhm.
police are looking for an orange car because the only witness that leads them to the orange car is Shamika. So that's the things that the detectives are looking out. So they got an APB for that. So that's the beginning of the whole thing that starts them looking for the car. Then they're gonna be in the midst, they're gonna be pulling other cars out, but we ain't gonna show all the other cars that are orange. But this is an instance where Daryl happens to pass by these officers and they pull them over because it's the only thing they're looking for is the orange car. So when
Right,
they pull
okay,
them
so let me go back to the question I asked. So after we get Daryl arrested and released right away, the next day, because that's, we're trying to figure out these 7 to 10 pages, right? We're trying to
Mhm.
hone down on what we need to write. We're gonna write
Mhm.
that in. He's gonna get pulled over. He's gonna go for questioning. They're gonna ask some basic questions. He wants to talk to his attorney. The next day, he's bailed out because he's granted a court attorney, and the court attorney
Right.
will get in contact with him. He sets the
Right.
bail, he goes home. All that happens in one page. We don't have to,
Right.
no other scenes are happening outside of that, right? Well, except his mom is calling the Carla. They're all talking. Where is he at? Da, da, da. Either way, he comes home the next morning. Then Jeff's family's da da da. Then the funeral. Then the DA's
Yeah.
telling at the funeral, I'm gonna get the guy.
Mhm.
Telling the
Mhm.
city, I'm gonna get the guy.
Yeah.
What happens after that? Shamika comes in for a lineup. Is that what we're writing next?
They go-
Okay.
and she can come
So we're gonna
in.
move the, Anthony, do you get it? We're gonna move that scene wherever
Mhm.
Shamika is at and bring it to that. That's the way these things are being rearranged so we can write the 7 to 10 pages. And let's try to do a page for these additions unless you need more, so that we can give 10 full pages or even for extending it to 15, but it's full of all the information and ties in as many loopholes.
Mhm.
We can see what's
Because
missing anywhere.
Yeah, because instead of, and so even though I wrote it as she identifying him from a lineup, a standing lineup, I think we can just have a picture of these are guys that they had arrested that had orange cars. Okay.
See, so they
And
can
then
do one of those, either way, however you want to write
and
it.
she
The
picked
lineup
them
is
out.
more
Yeah.
interesting because we're probably gonna have a jail that we
Yeah.
use and a police that we're gonna use. Lineup is
Mhm.
more interesting and it will probably be better be shot with the lineup. There's intensity, the drums, the dun 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 dun, and everybody's lining up and it's
Mhm.
coming because Daryl is like, they got me back here again. And this is when they keep him, right?
Mhm.
So that's what we're
Mhm.
writing. Shamika comes in, they're doing a lineup. That's him. Y'all caught him fast. Those lines come into play but this is right after the DAs and the city's out looking for this guy, and they're looking. So they put this line up. They pick him. Ballistics match the gun. This is when they keep him, and this is when his mother contacts Attorney Vaughn. Okay, so that's what we're writing in after this. What's next after that? This attorney goes and then interviews Daryl and finds out that Daryl had a partner in the car with him, which is Curtis. And that's when the attorney is now going to the mom and asking, who's Curtis? After an intense, we're going to show an intense 5-hour interrogation with Mr. Vaughn and his client. He's literally Vaughn's going to come in, roll up his sleeves and tell him, listen, I'm an old man. Okay. I don't waste too much time. I'm going to ask you very specific questions, and I'm going to help you because I looked at your record and I've talked to your mother, and I know you couldn't have done this. But if you follow my lead and answer my questions, I can get you out. I'll know the truth in 5 minutes. That kind of thing. Then we could do 5 hours later. He's asking a question like, you mean to tell me, I'm going to ask you this again. I think I've asked you 10 times today. You never suspected Curtis the 2 times you stepped out of the vehicle. That shows us he's asked many times, right?
And Daryl said no.
And then the attorney closes the folder, because we don't want to write too long what he says. Closes the folder and said, all right, get back into your cell. I'll see how I'll work this out. And he meets with the mom and says, Mom, I think Curtis had something to do with this. What do you know about Curtis? So that's, to me, is the next thing that happens. And it could be a phone call. Oh my God, Curtis here. So Curtis was with him that night, but Curtis has told the cops, because they've called him in. Have they not called him in at this time? Or they've not?
No, they had that now
they've not called him in at this time because his name is just now coming up for the first time, because Daryl never. So now it's Attorney Vaughn that says, okay, ma'am, I'm going to take care of it. And then calls the detectives to say, I need you to question a Curtis, a so-so Curtis this.
Right.
And then the detective will look at Daryl's report and say, yeah, Daryl did mention that he was with his friend Curtis, but we took nothing of it because he said Curtis didn't do anything. Fine, we'll call him in for questioning. That's when Curtis comes into the picture. And Curtis, of course, denies ever doing anything, which now leads us to where we're at now, to where Daryl's still out. Because they think Curtis is a suspect, and working up for Curtis to meet with. So how do we get, so Daryl is now back, Daryl's not in jail. He's back into jail and picked up because ballistics match, and they're now trying to get him. And that's when Curtis has been questioned, but doesn't know the severity of it, sees the news later, sees the DA saying, we have a suspect in custody. Until I find the right suspect, we're going to keep him for further questions and investigating. The court is in so days. Welcome the community to come in, the press. So there's court, because we're going to have these dates where the Vaughn is going to try to say, my client couldn't have done it. The proximity from the dick. Shamika's sitting in court, mom's there, Carla's there, Curtis is nowhere to be found, because Daryl is looking around in court. And it's like the proximity couldn't have been possible. And the Vaughn is probing Shamika. You're trying to tell me you saw him for only 5 minutes, and within that 5 minutes, he shot how many people, right? It's not possible. He's probing Shamika to the end. It actually looks like Shamika is a liar. By the time Vaughn is done with him, it's not as strong as it was. There could have been somebody else that did it, because he'll show that where Daryl shot Jeff was shot at, Daryl could have never been in the proximity of that place. Talking about the time span that Shamika saw him come out of the car and back. Now, I do not want you to spend a lot of time writing the court part. You know why? You're not a court writer. I could tell you this unique court lingo to do it, just like you, Harold, you use the officer, someone that's been in law enforcement to write the hold up the gun. You need someone in a court system that knows about it to write that part. I just want you to give us a skim court date, and then you could just put something like to be included.
Yeah.
So you can leave it blank there. Don't worry about writing that in, because that's extensive. But I want there to be a court date where it seems like Daryl didn't do it, because this man's almost able to prove, even though all evidence says that Daryl didn't go around the corner.
the DA is going to have the evidence shows that he's been identifying.
Of course, but when you honestly, when you look at the building and the way you drew it, because they're gonna have that draw out in court,
Right.
there's
right.
no way from where Shamika saw that he got out of the car and then the gunshot started. Because remember, she threw away her cigarette, went in the house and started hearing gunshots. He couldn't have been doing all that shooting because he didn't go all the way around the corner to the back of her house to shoot. And the back of her house is where the shooting, whoever was shooting from there, hit the gun. She peeked through the window. He's already right back of the car. He couldn't have been the one shooting. She heard gunshots while he was getting in the car. She couldn't have been, there are no gun bullets in his car. So nobody was shooting at him. How could he have been the one shooting? These are all the things Vaughn is saying, but there's no way he didn't do it because the gun and the ballistics match and he did get out of the car.
Yeah, he got out of the car. She saw him running back to the car.
Yeah, but
And
he's
then
saying
pulled
he
off.
didn't do it exactly. There's no bullets on his car, on the orange car, that shows anybody was shooting at the car. So there could be somebody else. That's what Vaughn is saying. Vaughn's is saying that it's not his bullet and all that, but Vaughn will prove in court that it may not be him. Like there will be whispers in court after that scene, that intense scene. I just don't want Anthony to focus on writing that right now.
Right.
I want us to just focus on we went to court.
Mhm.
Shamika was there. This person was there. This person was there. Curtis was not in court.
Mhm.
So Curtis not being publicized right now, but the DA keeps coming to TV and making these announcements. So the DA comes out, we've got a suspect in custody, the gun matched the bullet. That's when he rings to Curtis. They're saying Daryl did it. Because all this time he thinks,
Mhm.
that's when he goes to court. And those, I think, are 7 to 10 pages that we need to add.
All right.
That we're missing right now. I just want us to focus on that so that Anthony can go back to structure those pages and get that done.
Okay.
You wrote a lot in your pages. There's a lot of stuff that, the holes you want to fill in and all that. I want to focus on these key, powerful things that we just talked about that need to be tied in. And if it's 10 pages and we need to add an additional 5 here and there, backstory for DA, all that, after we read that, we can go and I can work with you on that. But right now, I want these powerful 7 to 10 pages that we just talked about right now, so that you can guide the story, because this is like the height of the story. This is where, it's like, what's going to happen here? This is where everything's coming down, but definitely you're on the edge of your seat because you almost think Curtis is caught. And then Curtis dies and Daryl pays for what Curtis didn't do, except now you're not sure.
Oh, let me stop you right there. It's not, see, you're emphasizing that Curtis is caught. That's not the emphasis.
Well, no, I'm sorry.
The emphasis that Daryl is going to be, he's going to be freed because Curtis is getting ready to get him exonerated.
Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Sorry.
Not Curtis get caught. So
but well, we know he did it. He doesn't know he did anything. The audience knows. Remember, I'm always writing from what the audience is thinking. So you're getting the whole theater excited because they didn't. Curtis is going in. Curtis has finally come out and said it. Curtis is, yes, everybody's excited. Then Curtis dies. And then the DA deletes the recording. And then they're picking up Daryl.
This is the case he's getting ready to get this for his nomination. He needs this case to win his re-election. Right. So this can throw egg in his face. He doesn't need this to blow up in his face.
Right. So I just want to focus on those 7 days. We'll meet again next week, Sunday. By this time, whatever you've written on the Celtics platform, so you're clear about the few things we pointed on. Right after Daryl gets picked up, we're gonna writing that he goes home. That he was bonded out and he goes home. He engages Carla. He's really nervous. Can't believe all this is going on. So is he talking to Curtis at this time? Are they communicating?
Who? No.
Curtis and Daryl.
No, I don't think they are.
From each other at this point. They're kind of estranged from each other at this point because
it's because of Curtis that he's ended up going because he went to that place.
Curtis kind of went kind of disappeared. He's just kind of keeping to
Curtis
himself.
Isn't trying to call Daryl? And Daryl is not answering, that kind of thing?
Curtis is kind of laying low because the fact that Daryl is Carla has gotten to Daryl's mind and she's telling him that, you know, she already told you once before that I think Curtis he's you know she already mentioned to him that she's gonna get you in trouble one day. The mother said it to him when he was a kid. So Daryl
But that's
is
what I'm
real.
saying. Can Curtis be trying to call Daryl and Daryl is like, no, or no? Let's not write that in.
What? No, I don't think he should be trying to call him. I think he's just trying to just
Give him some space.
yeah, give him some space.
And he doesn't know what's going on until they call him.
Right.
And
he
because
don't know what-
this is, yeah, he doesn't know what's going on until they call. Curtis comes to court. I mean, or comes to the police station to be lined up or to be questioned. He doesn't even know all this is going on, and he just thinks.
Right, because if he calls Daryl or Daryl calls him, then he would have to tell him what actually happened. So he don't.
No, that's what I was saying. If Curtis called Daryl, and Daryl's not been answering because Daryl was in jail or was left hold overnight over this. So then, you know, so another 2-3 days later, it calls him, man, this thing ain't answering my call, man. I'm gonna have to show up at his house. That's how Curtis, because remember, Curtis doesn't feel like he did anything wrong. So I feel as though that friendship on Curtis' side should still be normal. Like, I'm calling him and he's not answering.
Or his phone could be out because, you know, he's irresponsible. He ain't got no money to pay his bill.
He just robbed somebody. Well, that's fine.
And he just got his car out, so he kind of laying low. But he don't know anybody's looking for him because them drug boys have kind of
they're laying low. Everybody's laying low right after what happened.
Yeah, and they kind of find out where Curtis is, and that's probably not. I didn't bring that up, but they probably found out that somebody probably in the hood's.
That's what Anthony was talking about. That girl, it could be that girl. She probably like, you know, I know that dude. Like, there's a, you know, we show a gang house and somebody they going through video. That's the dude that robbed us, man. Should I know that dude?
But they
know where he at, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Not that we have to focus on that now, because again, I want to focus on what happens when Daryl is bonded and just making sure we clean up that part of the story. Anything else we can tie in a page here and there. Let's just focus on that part. So right now, what we're going to be working on this week is Daryl gets bonded out. He goes home. He engages Carla. He's, you know, he's not talking to Curtis. Maybe Curtis' phone's not out. Curtis not talking to him. His mother,
the
funerals. Jeff,
over there.
DA saying to everybody, "I'm gonna get him." Then line up. Shamika's line up is the key thing that brings Daryl back. He gets a call that he's got to come in for a lineup, and it's just a simple lineup and some basic questioning. That's when he gets kept.
Yeah.
Because they pick him from the lineup.
Right.
And all they're waiting now to tie it on is ballistic reports, which should be here in, let's say, something like 24 hours. We'll have the full ballistic reports. So that's when they put him back into questioning, and they're like, did you know? Yeah, we found no prints in the bullets, but it was freshly shot. At least a few weeks ago, it's gunpowder, all on this. That shows a bullet came out. How many bullets were in your chamber? So I asked him all those questions, and he's like, what are y'all talking about? I thought we had this conversation. I haven't touched, you know, I need a lawyer. That's when Attorney Vaughn is called by the mom. Then Attorney Vaughn comes and has a long 5-hour thing. Make sure we make it short. Comes in, says, hey, I just want to talk to you 5 hours later. You sure Curtis didn't? Then now detectives are being alerted to get Curtis in. Curtis is not detected by Shamika. We could use pictures or whatever. Curtis was there, but has no clue about no gun. I ain't nothing to do with no gun. I ain't no gun. That's his story. And then we don't let Daryl go again because Daryl's now in there. We can pull the court thing, just see how many pages you're in. If you want to pull that court thing, I think it'd be good to have that one court date, but we don't have to now. I feel as though if we go to any reputable source, Netflix, or they're going to be like, y'all didn't go to court, even for preliminary hearing, anything. So I think court is important to put in, not necessarily for you to writing, but I think we should think about what court will look like, where the Vaughn is able to defend to some extent that Daryl didn't do it. And they may have been somebody else, even though he's not calling anybody's name at this time. So of course, that's when Curtis has a whiff of this and then goes to tell Daryl, I got your gun. I didn't shoot anyone. I'll let them know I did it. And a few days later dies. Now, I don't know if Daryl is let out between that few days later and then, or Daryl is still kept in and then the button is just pressed by the DA, which I think might be the easiest way, because that's already written that way now. So Daryl never gets let out the second time after that first
Yeah,
time he's bonded.
He don't get back out no more, no.
Right, because Curtis was supposed to go tell, but Curtis went home and did other things. And then on his way back in, that's when he's calling his mom, going to go do this, he gets shot. So that we just keep that part.
Because I mean, once he's in and then Curtis dies, then you know there's no more alibi for him. So he's gonna have to bite this.
Right.
No other way to get out of it, other than when Mr. Vaughn has that meeting with those underworld people.
And then Mr. Vaughn never gets a chance to get the copy records because DA deleted it. Detectives just packaged everything, gave it to the DA, trusting him. They didn't think anything of it, because if one of the detectives had heard it, they might have defended Curtis. You know, they might have defended Daryl. He didn't do it. But, you know, they never heard it. They just dropped it off. You know, DA asked for it. They trust him, you know, and then he hears it. And after he finds out Curtis is dead, he deletes it. So we keep everything else the same. He looks it up, the guy deceased. Keep everything the same, because that's what you wrote. We don't have to change that part anymore, because Daryl doesn't go out again. Remember? Daryl goes out the first time after being bonded, you know, and engages Carla and actually thinks he's out. That's all you're writing for this time, tying in, moving things around. And if you have any questions, just email us during the week. We've gone way past our meeting. I don't want us to do that because you're spending quite some time writing, which is the core part of this meeting. The meeting is great to go over, but the writing is the key. And I will be helping in any way, form that I can. So if you write anything you want me to look at, just like shoot me a text or send me an email. I'll be going in there to check on it and to read it and just be like, oh, yeah, because you're writing this week, so we'll both be reading. And when you go in, you'll see where he makes changes. You'll see what he's writing. You'll be able to read the script. And then we'll go from there. Is there anything else that we need to discuss now?
So go ahead.
Me. Oh, I was let you know. When I do work on this, it's gonna be like later at night during the week, because during the week I do work all day. So I just wanted to let you know that's where I'll be mostly when I'm working on is at night. But no, for sure. I'll be writing the stuff that we talked about, and just keep reading, and then I'll ask said questions, just make sure we got everything good. So, but yeah, that's all I gotta say.
And then one little tidbit I just want to throw in there too is that Attorney Vaughn does not complete the whole case. After he loses, it does go through appeal, but not through him. I don't know if I had that in the story. I thought I put it in the story that
you did. There was another guy took over.
Yeah, that took over. Yeah, and they lost the appeal. So I just wanted to make that make sense. So.
Yeah, so we're gonna let's not focus on that. But it's not no
case. It's not cases.
Let's not focus on that, because again, I want the attorney to have tried to go to court to prove that it does not make sense what they're saying, what Shamika is saying, because he's gonna question Shamika. Are you trying to tell me, did you see a second person? Shamika is like, no, I didn't see it, but could there be a second person there that ran to the car after you saw this? Well, yeah, but you didn't see. Well, that's what I'm saying. Was there a full camera in your house where you saw the full picture? You know how these attorneys question people and they get out that you're lying, but you didn't know you're lying, because you're telling us there's only one person, but there are two people in that car, because he couldn't have gone around and did all the shooting at the back of your house for that long and then been at the front of your house where you say he was and still shot a cop all the way in the back. That's all he's trying to prove. It doesn't work, but because again, there's an eyewitness. The eyewitness doesn't see a second person, but they should just have that powerful court moment where you could tell that Attorney Vaughn is talented enough to win this. It's just not possible because of many other reasons,
Yeah, maybe one or two words that he questioned her, and then it doesn't seem right, but a whole drawn out debate with her, I don't think is necessary. I think with him maybe asking two questions, it doesn't sound right the way she asked it. Then when they do the cross-examination from the DA, they just they put down, we can like skip through all that, and he comes to his final wording was to the jury, what they have, the evidence they have, and then let it rest, and then we just leave it at that. It doesn't have to be a whole long, dried out trial.
Oh, no,
that's
no, no.
not-
I just want it to be very short, but I don't even want Anthony to write it. I want him to tie everything else in. We'll get a court writer or someone. Like, I have a background in legal. I know how to write that. So just leave that part to me. Just put insert court lingo or current discussion here, but just take us to that place where there was court and just put it where you would like to see it as part of the script writing team. Then just continue the story. What happened after court? Okay, now he didn't get it, and tie in all the, okay, we're going to put the appeal here, because anything we're moving around, it affects something else, how we place it. So now when Harold reads it, he might say, no, I don't like that there. I want that to come after that, move that back up. And we just adjust things till it's where we want it to be. And then I can just write in that page or two of the court. It's not going to be a drawn out case, because it's going to be like a pre-trial or something.
Yeah.
Something where when that guy loses, when Vaughn loses, Vaughn now hires somebody else. Like, I'm too old to be in court doing this. That's one of his motivations, to go get somebody else, and that's when his people, when by the time his people, when he has the meeting with the Illuminati, we should have that playing on the video. Like, that should be not Illuminati, whoever. And you watch that clip and they turn the TV off and they turn to the table and say, we saw your case. Very good case. So you don't see these guys, you just see their shirt, hear their voice, but they're watching the case and they're watching him and you see the rings. But that video should be the opening up of that scene, is that they were paying attention to what happened in court and that guy didn't do it.
Yep.
And that Attorney Vaughn was smart enough to know exactly what happened. That's what he's trying to tell him in court. But we know how the system is. So that's why we're here to run the system. That's basically what that meeting was for. That scene in court should open up that meeting with the Illuminati, where they're watching him. They got his back, in other words.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that sounds good. I mean, I don't have any other comments to make, but yeah, sounds like a good deal.
Awesome. Do you have any other questions for us? No, we'll meet weekly, and we should really keep to the hour, just because as another meeting I'm missing now. Let's keep to, and I was just on the phone, Harold, with Terry before you, which is another reason why I didn't get on time, because I had a meeting with him before. And so yeah, I really am grateful for the time. Is there anything else you want to add to us getting started? Let's just get started. When we meet next week, we'll try to keep it to the hour. So we can and by next week, he should have some things written. If I see any changes, I'll let you know, Harold, hey, go read it. We've made some changes to the script. So you just go in and read it and take notes. There's something you have a question about, you could just call me, tell me, and I'll type it up. Here's where Harold had a question, so that we can work on a lot of it before Sunday, so that our meetings of Sunday are brief and to the point, and we can get more things tackled. And maybe we can be done by following week. Like, let's take this week to let him write. And sometimes when he's writing, let people just write. When they finish, they might say, okay, review it. Is there any changes you want to make? And we may just have to move things around, and we're done. And I have to write in that court part, and then we're done with the 7 to 10 pages. If we need 15, we'll see it. We'll see where we're still missing stuff, like, oh, we forgot to tie this. Oh, we haven't gone flashback to DA. I think we had a quick flashback of DA's life, why the DA was so mean to Black people. There was the thing you and I came up with. That could be, I could do that because Anthony doesn't know, but you and I came up with a great thing that we could quickly write. So where that goes would be perfect after he's written, because then he has the final thing we want. We can tie in all the other pieces around his write-up that we've approved. So, all right. Great meeting.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, both of you guys.
Lord, we thank you for this meeting. We thank you for making this work for us. Thank you, because we can't do anything without your gracious help. God bless us. God bless the people that are working hard to help folks in the Ukraine, and we hope that you help them to make things better for the world all around, and help us as we do this script. Amen. All right, guys. Bye.
All right. Good night.
See y'all next week.
Good night.
Night.